Hello, everyone. I hope we can see here that this session is going to be on SharePoint agents, what's new and what's next. I am CJ Tan. I'm a product manager that brought me SharePoint agents, and I'm going to go through all the things that we see right now for SharePoint agents, as well as a few new things as well. This is a great looking crowd. I just wanted to get a sense of how many people here have used an agent and know they used an agent. Awesome. And how many of you have created a SharePoint agent? Great. Okay, so this gives me an idea about how quickly to go through some of the things that already exist as well. All right. So just an overview of why I think SharePoint agents are something that will really help you unlock the value in your content. Note that these SharePoint agents are really easy to use and create. I show you how we can do that today as well. We've got a ready-made agent, one that's built in on a site, because every SharePoint site has an agent. It's going to save you time because it's really tailored to answering questions by reading through and searching through that grounded search that you've created. It's super easy to share, so if you create something that's really helpful to you, you can share it to your teammate, and they will get the same benefit, especially when you've got the same provisions on that source gravity items. And it can increase your collaboration and show you how we can use it in Teams, in all the different ways that you communicate there. And then they're secure because these SharePoint agents are grounding on the SharePoint content by reference. And that means that whenever it tries to respond to a question, it would use my permissions or whoever's asking the permissions. So I do want to step back a little bit and talk a little bit about agents at Microsoft's overall, because it's important to try and picture where the SharePoint agents live on the spectrum of agents. So we've got these knowledge agents, and this is really where SharePoint agents live. This is about information retrieval, about taking facts that you've already written down and then bringing them to you in a much more easy, consumable way. But there are agents that will actually do additional tasks, right? So you can have tasks that are coming out of Copilot Studio. This is more of a maker's things. The tasks can be governed by apps. There's a lot more things you could do. The retrieval agents, they're kind of focused on that retrieving, and the things that they can do are things that Copilot, like Microsoft Copilot, can do as well. And then we sort of have this really advanced agents. These are these autonomous ones. They operate independently, giving them lots of autonomy to do what they need to do to get a job done. So the focus of this session, of course, is on SharePoint agents. It's really around this retrieval of information. But there's a lot that you can do just from retrieving information, right? You can think about, you can reallocate time to higher value tasks, right? So you've got things around, you're not spending time answering basic questions. You're going to spend time really getting into the deeper questions. You're going to be able to, because you've got that time back, you're going to complete some of your higher level tasks faster. And then you can also do a lot of the same tasks you might do repeatedly, getting those done as well. So one of the core things that I want to go through before I get into showing things is really understanding how are people using these. That's probably one of the main things that I get as product makers. That's great. You gave us this thing, and it does what? How do I apply it? How am I going to take it in there? So I'm going to walk through a few of these examples, giving what I think is the department or a place that it could apply to, and an example of an agent that people are created. So we'll start with customer service. So when you think about retrieval, right, customer service agents, they need to get at information very specifically and quickly. A lot of times it's going to be a manual or how to do things, or maybe it's a troubleshooting guide. So that's perfect for this use case here. We're going to be able to get at that information faster, ask questions directly to the agent. It's sales, about an example where you could have an agent actually prepare or help you prepare your request for proposal. And the idea here is that you've got a corpus of these proposals you've written before and want to base some of the new work that you've done on existing. You're really building on the knowledge of others. You can build an agent to help you do that, to get that better information. From a finance perspective, that's really around recommendations. Right? So the agent can really help with recommending based on past experience, helping you look at some of the analysis of things as well. In marketing, so the marketing one is a combination of things. I've seen marketing do agents that help actually with ideation. The example I put here was really about product finding. How do you closer connect people who are trying to take the product to market with the people that are actually building it, right? If you think about the product specifications or the product definition from core groups that are building it, Now, you can give that to marketers so that they can find all those products they're trying to market. And then HR, so this is really something that I think is helpful as far as when I talked earlier about this 100 mobile question, right? When you're onboarding, whether you're just joined a company or you've just joined a team or even something as small as you've just done a project, you want something to get you up to speed really quickly. You can have something that's really focused and targeted on the material you want people to learn. Then we think about legal, this is really around retrieving and reviewing documentation time. So you can do comparisons of things that you might be submitting now, comparing them to how these documents may or policy that have been written previously, and it gets some responses that way. And lastly, it's about IT, right? This is just about this feedback agent really trying to analyze customer feedback and trends in that as well. So we do have a scenario playbook. We're updating this frequently. This has 6 examples right now. We're trying to add 8 more, and they give different points of view and different scenarios where you can get started right away, including the instructions to the agents, because sometimes it's not as simple as just like typing in that you wanted to search something. Okay, so a little bit of bookkeeping. I call this bookkeeping. I was trying to go back and forth what this is. One of the main questions I get, and I feel like this is a big blocker, is just like, what is this thing going to cost? So I wanted to get this out of the way. That's why I called it bookkeeping, so just so people understood, what I'm going to show you. How does it impact your bottom line? So there's actually 2 options that you can use for SharePoint agents. The first one is if you've got a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, it's included. We get SharePoint agents, you can use them, you can create them, you can do what you want with them. If you do not have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, then you can set up a consumption meter. So this consumption meter is Microsoft 365 pay-as-you-go. The feature is called Agents in SharePoint. Now you've got these 2 members. When it shows up on your Azure billing, it actually is a Copilot Studio meter. So you can have one, you can have the other, they can come together and have them both at the same time. But you're probably all already thinking, okay, but honestly, seriously, what does this thing cost, right? So from the consumption meter, this is how we're breaking down the billing rates. So the agent or the SharePoint agent features that we use are the generative answer and the tenant graph routing for messages. So tenant graph routing is your SharePoint content that we're putting in there. Those consumption billing rates are the same whether or not you're doing these 2 actions with SharePoint agents or you're doing them over Copilot Studio. So it's effectively a penny a message. So this works out to be about 12 cents per interaction. Okay, so just to run through, if you're not familiar with this, this is me showing you how you set it up right now. Pay-as-you-go services in the org. You're going to have an option here where there's going under this pay-as-you-go services, you're going to see a place where you can find agents in SharePoint. That's the name of the feature there that we see. That's what it's called right now. And then you can set up your billing. So if you're familiar with this already, then it's the same flow. But one of the main things that we've heard is, we've just given you this meter, it's pay as you go. Seriously, what are you guys thinking? So coming soon, we've heard you, we're adding more things. The first thing is you want to make sure that you can find these meters in the same place that you're finding the Copilot chat meter that's available as well. So our pay as either will show up in the Microsoft Admin Center alongside the billing and usage. You can see the one at the top is the Copilot chat, and then ours will actually show up there. It's going to be called SharePoint Agents. And multi-subscription support. So we've heard you. You want to be able to separate who pays what in between different groups. So we are introducing this as well. This is coming really soon. So you can create multiple policies. You can group them, scope them with the pay-as-you-go, as you're familiar to, and of course, the magic word in the departmental billing. That's what we're adding, and that's coming soon within the next 3 months or so. All right. So now let's get into it. So let's talk about how you actually use these agents in the flow mode. So I'm going to go through, so it looked like some of you had already used this before, so I'll go through this just as a reminder of what's available right now. So to get to SharePoint Agents, there's one agent per site. And that agent is going to be scoped, or there's one that we give you to start with. You can have many agents in the site. There's one that we give you to start with, and it's going to be scoped to the site. That's the document libraries as well as the pages library. You can see here when I open up this picker, there's actually two sections here. The top one is approved for the site. So these are the agents that a site owner has come in and said they should always appear at the top of this list. That check mark here just notes that this is the one that opens when you first point out that period. Below that is really a section for myself. These are my most recently used agents, as you can see here. I buy a few. So you open up this sign panel, you can click and you can start using it right away. It's going to have a look at what's on the site. In this case, all the different changes that have been happening here. You can engage with that as you wish. So it's a really easy way for end users to come in and really navigate in a different way than they would as far as wayfinding throughout the site. What you can also do is you can add agents right on to the homepage here or any other SharePoint page. In this case, I've used an editorial card. And basically, I've got an agent that I created. It's pointing to that agent so that when I click on this, ask our chat agent, it'll open out the agent in what we call the immersive viewer. So it's this dedicated view of the agent that you can interact with right away as well. What's nice about this is that you've been able to shortcut and highlight this agent on the front page. You don't have to find it. It's really a way to promote all these helpful agents that we think. You can read the material. We could read through, all this stuff, or you can just ask questions that'll be helpful. You can see that it's responded there as well. Now, as we go forward with this, though, especially when you interact with this, you might want to share it. So you might encounter an agent as you're going through day to day and say, hey, my team could really use something like this. So we have sharing options here at the top. I'm going to pick this first one that says Coffee Away for Teams. So this is how it works right now, and we're definitely wanting to improve this. But what it's going to give you is just a sharing link into your football so that you can copy it into Teams. So right now, you can do this into a Teams chat or a Teams meeting. So what I'm going to do here is just add this into this chat that I've got here with Denise and Melissa. It's going to open up a card that just say this is the agent that's there. And to add it specifically to the chat, I actually have to click this button. And what it's going to do is introduce itself to this chat. Learn to know that what it does is those starter prompts. So the same things that you've configured it to do, it's going to show up here. Now, as this comes through, the next thing that it'll do is that you can start to address it just like it's somebody that's powerful the chat. What I mean by that is you'll be able to do the and mention, and you'll be able to do ask the question that way. So we can see here it's come back. It's going to type out this welcome message, gives you a few of those prompts that you have set up, and then you can ask its question. Now, one of the things that I want as this is coming back with the response, as I want to demonstrate, is just what we call or to demonstrate what I said earlier around this is always using my permissions, right? So I'm having a conversation with this agent here, and it's using my permissions. It knows that when it comes back, you'll see it's got a file that's associated to the response as to where it got that response. What I'm going to do right now is actually add a person to this chat who doesn't have permissions to this file. So these two assets here that came up. So we're going to go up here, as you're familiar with, and add a person. But while up here, you can see that agent is already added. So I'm going to add Mark into this chat. And of course, I may not know at the time that I've added Mark whether or not he's got permissions. But let's see what the AG does this time. So I'm going to ask that same question, which, as you saw before, it just came back and responded, and that was strictly because of the permissions that were set up. This time, what's going to happen? It's actually what it does is it looks at the response that it was going to give me. It sees those attributes and it checks the permissions on that. It says, all right, who else is in this chat? Can I actually share this sort of point blank without verifying with anyone? So you can see here it's asking me now. It's telling the group and it's telling myself, hey, you've got to review this response before I share it in chat. This is a little similar to if somebody asks you a question, you go over and you search for it, your coffee, should I give them the right response or what this is? But here's the view that we gave you. We've given you the response itself. We list out the file names that this is there. If there's sensitivity labels there, we're going to let you know what those are. And we really want you to confirm before you do that. So you have this function to send and don't send. Now, this is the price and the meter, and they say, it's fine. Mark, if you actually needs this information, now you've got kind of two clues. You've got one clue to say, hey, Mark, you need to go get permissions. to this site with these resources because you need that to do your work. And then you've been able to carry on the conversation because you've shared where this go. So the new thing that's coming soon is that we're actually going to allow you to do this in chat. So this is something that we're working on right now, and we are looking very forward to getting this out to you. So now I'm in the channel for sustainability initiatives. I could start out a post here on this proposal. I'm going to drop in that same agent. And you'll see here, it does the same thing. It says, hey, this is the agent you're about to add, and post, instead of saying add to this chat this time, it's going to say add to this channel. But the interactions are going to be the same. It goes off, it's going to come back with a welcome message, and then I interact with this agent the exact same way that I interacted when I did it from the chat. So we're trying to keep the paradigms the same as far as how you interact with it. There's a few differences here around when it responds. You will see a lot of the bottling here, but that's something that we're improving on so that people can know that this is the welcome message here, of course, is super important because that's how everybody's going to know that it's there. And then, as you can see here, I can access it in the same way and ask a question. And that'll go off and do that. We've seen this response a ton of times, so we're not gonna wait for it to respond. All right. Now, the other place you can go and see these is from your OneDrive, right? So here I am in OneDrive. I've mentioned this a couple times already. The SharePoint agent is saved as a file, which means it's actually in the document library. So here I am in the document library in the quick access section for OneDrive. We've got that solar panel deep dive. So now if you were someone who works more regularly into OneDrive, you don't need to leave OneDrive, click on that. It opens it up in that immersive viewer, ready for you to use. It's that exact same agent. Now, the other thing that's coming soon is that we're working on adding agents or SharePoint agents to Copilot chat, right? So this is, in the spirit of we should be wherever you are working. So as our first iteration, the agents will show up here as soon as you use them in SharePoint or OneDrive or Teams, because they're your most recently used, and these are where all your other agents that you most recently used are. We'll have the functionality where you can pin it, so it always stays at the top, but it's something that we really want to keep. And then you could also remove any agents for here, just in the same way that you could remove any agents that you will remove as you've been working with Copilot Chat. All right, let me flip back. So that's really sort of the surfaces that we cover right now as far as going in the flow of work to using SharePoint agents. So just a quick review, SharePoint, it's on the site. We've got that nice sidecar. We can put it on the page, opens up in that immersive viewer. In Teams, we've got chat, meeting, and channel. Channel is what is coming soon. In OneDrive, we showed you, you've got those files right there in the OneDrive, and we can go in there and click on them as well. And then this is the other one that's coming soon with Copilot Chat. All right, so let's have a look at agent creation. All right, so I'm going to start my agent creation here. Sit there and cop. In the document library, it's right here. The document library here of this sustain. So, oops. Okay, so super quick and easy. It sounds like you guys have done this before. I'll just run through quickly. Here we have the product specifications. We're going to create an agent. Like I mentioned before, the initial instructions are simply to base this agent on the documents that you selected, and then answer questions. Read through it and answer questions for that. So that's the first basic agent that we have. What we set up this to do, as far as the default prompts go, is that we put it summarize recent files. We do a tell me more about, and this is sort of a cue for whoever's using it initially to put it something that they want to learn about that. So it's a way more of a cue than anything. Then the how can you help me is something that we put in their standard so that when people build these from scratch, they know what it's grounded to. So it actually goes back on spawns and says, hey, this agent is grounded on these particular resources. So that's the default experience. And this is actually going to give a pretty good overview of what this is. It's pretty broad and open, so it's going to spend a lot of time going through all the different headaches that it found out of the talking group. Now, what we want to do though is I wanted to show you how you can edit this agent so that you can use it to be much more customizable. So on the agent itself, we have the identity tag here. You can change the logo and it picks something that's really obvious, so we can see that change show up. And you basically start by giving it a description so that you can find it later on as people are using it. The sources is a place where you can get files that you want for this agent. You can see here that we could add other files from other SharePoint sites that you might have, that you have root permissions to. But what you can also do is add files from your OneDrive. So that's the part that's coming super, letting it us that you can go to your OneDrive and pick some of those my files as well. And then over here on the behavior side, so this is where it gets to be more around, what do you want people to do with this agent? You can give people starter prompts so they know what the information is. And the last part of this is really a set of instructions for that agent. Now, as this is filling out, what I really want this agent to do is pretend that it's a subject matter expert, not pretend, actually be the subject matter expert. You just play subject. You're the expert by telling it. Its job is to be the tutor. It's trying to get everybody up to speed. It should be using the right terminology from these files. So these instructions are things that help you make sure that this agent is really purpose-built. So I can save it here right where I created it. It's in that document library in SharePoint. But you may be in a situation where you might actually want to save this in OneDrive as well. And so what's coming soon as well is this ability to save these agents into your OneDrive. And again, it becomes your personal view. So I'm just going to save it here right in my root. But that's the main thing that I wanted to show there, is that you could save it into your OneDrive. And I think one of the key things, part of the reason why I think it's really, it's really a benefit to be able to save it in your OneDrive is because a lot of the feedback that I've heard is that people are worried about, we're all in SharePoint, we're all in this shared space. How do we differentiate? Depending on how you use SharePoint, you might be fine that you've got your entire team, you're all working together, it's your working group. You're building agents for each other. It's all in your document library. It's discoverable by everyone, super easy. But every now and then, you might actually want to create an agent, but you just want it for yourself, right? And so this is where the OneDrive play comes into play, and that you can save these agents over your OneDrive instead. You don't need to share it with anyone. It's helping you. It's helping like me. I built agents to make me look smarter. It's all about you. And perhaps that's not something you want in your team. So that's where I find that going forward, having this ability to do it in OneDrive is really going to be beneficial. So just a quick overview of what I just showed you. You create your content. We could start by selecting your content. Can change the identity so that you've got something really, really personalized and identifiable, of course. You've got the ability to select your content. So even if you select it starting from the content, you could always add more content, of course, from your OneDrive and from SharePoint. Basically, anything that you have read permissions to, is how we govern that. And you can customize the behavior, right? The behavior is really where the magic is. It's where you're communicating how this thing does. It's where you're communicating to the agent itself or telling the agent what you can actually do. And that's where, when I showed you earlier, that scenario playbook, it gives you some examples and actual instructions in there on how to do that. And of course, we love OneDrive. We want you to be able to create across OneDrive as well as SharePoint. And that's something that's coming soon. So let's look at analytics and management. So I had showed you earlier this diagram of things that are simple and in the agent world, and things become more advanced. When I think about where the SharePoint agents sit in, we are very much in the simple camp, right? You've got the knowledge there already, your business data is there, it's retrieving that information, it's only surfacing across Microsoft 365 only customers, it's always authenticated for that user. But as far as what tools we have, there's a lot of tools, right? End users in that camp, there's a bunch, the makers and developers. In this session, I'm really wanting to focus on, what do we have for the end users? You can see there's separate sort of individual tools and capabilities and controls at the top there, but things like the content controls, like that doesn't change. We're referencing these files that are routed by we're not moving them anywhere. however you set up that folder or directory or document library to be protected, it'll continue to do that. Any sensitivity labels come through when you get the response, the attributes are there. So that's, I think, a really key part as far as protecting the data. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the things that you can do right on SharePoint when it comes to actually keeping it in line with the SharePoint model here. So we talked a little bit about these agents that you create on your own, and the way that you get permissions to create within SharePoint is actually the same permissions that we set for people who could create content on this site. So we follow the create, read, update, delete permissions that we've set on the site. Generally, that's going to be what you set up as far as how you route to your new members, right? The site owners have full control, the site members to edit, and then the site visitors, they're just read-only. So they won't be able to see any of that create agent interface, none of those any agents IDs there. So that's the first basic step, is just using, hey, you trust the content owners to put content here. One of the benefits of SharePoint agents is they create their own agents to retrieve that information for their audience, so they can have control of that. The second thing that a site owner can do is actually choose which agent shows up in this picker in that top section. And the way I said that stuff at the top is what's approved for the site in the sense that it's going to be bumped up at the top. So we've got one agent here. This happened to be the built-in one, but you could very easily take agent. I'm going to take this one here that we get created earlier, and I could also approve it. So I'm a site owner on this site. All this does is mark it as approved. What we're doing under the hood is that we are moving that agent file into a special site assets folder so that it's a little bit more protected. But I'm sure I'll get questions on this later. This is an area that we don't think is as good as it could be. It's we use approval. It's kind of a strong word. It's more like we're pinning them, we're saving them. We want to just put it in a place where nobody can change it without me actually nibbling it. All that's going to do there is bump it up to that top section. It's going to move it right into what we call that approved for the site. But as you can see, it's still in the second position here. So once we open that up there again, you can actually set it as default. So what this is going to do is bump it into that first spot. And that's just a property that we put on there so that we can list it at the top. Yeah, I can see that there's a bit of a fog here that this should have disappeared. I think it's just taking a while to refresh it. But that's one way that you can actually control what's happening on the site there. So that's what this slide was sort of going through. It's a bit of the line chart, so we walked through that part of it. And the next couple slides, I wanted to say that yes, we are saving these as files. It was a choice that we made to make these agents actually much more approachable for our end users. I know that it has implications because it does between being this simple agent and then what happens is in this other world for advanced agents growing. But for the time being, you can basically govern them as they are their files. And you've got this .agent extension. We've got the searching capability on that. You can look for them all with this .agent extension. You can also manage all the permissions individually if you wanted to do that as well. And that means our agent insights are very similar to that. On site usage, the site usage page on your SharePoint sites, we already tell you what the most popular documents are. Well, because .agents are files, they actually will show up there as well. So a picture on the site usage for that popular content, you just see your agents that are popular, in addition alongside with the document popularity. I think this will actually be an interesting stat to see like just how frequently an agent is taking you to the right document. You know, you're opening that agent, that you're actually getting much more traction on that because you've got some things to do. And then the next item is a set of properties around the SharePoint Agent Insights. This is a brand new report that's rolling out actually right now. And I'll show you this quick demo logo. So here is, we're in the SharePoint Admin Center, and there's a new set of reports called SharePoint Agents. And so as an admin, we can click on that, and you can see that there's a list of these reports that were previously run. You do have to run them to generate them up. So the idea here is that you want to gain insights on the agents hosted across a specific site and add governance controls like restricted access control and restricted content discovery. So we're going to jump into this April 25 report. And you can see right at the top, we've given you an agent count for how many agents you have in the SharePoint sites and how many you had in the accounts split up, in OneDrive, so they're split up between those two elements. Now you can see that you've also got a list here, that table, and split out that agent count across the different sites that you have. And then what's interesting here is that you've got this advanced product division. It has a lot of agents. It's got most agents, but you can also tell that right away that it's an externally shared site as well. So you may want to deal with this to not prevent any oversharing. So what we could do in here is actually come in, click on it, and actually pull up the restrict content discovery right here. You could set that policy, and now those 23 agents are locked from being used. And this helps you manage things across the board. So that's the flow here. Of course, this is just the beginning. We continue to hear a lot of feedback around the types of analytics and the types of governance for this report. So I'm sure that we'll continue to improve this report going forward. So restricting the content discovery, what does it do? It's going to limit the ability of the end users to discover content for specific SharePoint sites. So this is a setting that we can put upon, and it impacts both the SharePoint agents features as well as just how Copilot works on this as well. So within the SharePoint world, it's actually going to just take that Copilot coin off of the page, that entry point that I showed you earlier. Now, all the admins can also look at the create, read, and update and delete operations on the .agent files. If you go to that viewer, actually, when I was talking about that immersive viewer, an individual can also go look up a agent history. So you can actually see who's made edits or who created that agent to start it. Those are the same audit logs that you have in Purview right now. And then for the data security posture management, all the activities are part of that as well, because we're actually built on top of the technology, the AI technology that Microsoft Copilot is, so that all of our audits and the trails and things flow through the same way. And then this is the one that I think could be really helpful in some situations where you can actually put in, with the extension, have the passing governance around that specific .agent file. So this is a bit of an overview of what I just walked through as far as the different pieces for security and governance. There's a combination of what we're doing on the SharePoint site that you'll be familiar with. There's things happening in SharePoint admin management, and then also things like that you're already doing in Purview from a content perspective. All right, so this is a slide, I guess, that's super important. So I've gone through a lot of the material here. There's lots of times where I said it's coming soon, and there's things already shipped. So I did want to share our roadmap. The numbers that you see there, those are the public roadmap numbers that we have. For the things that I talked about in billing, they're in the, I don't think we normally put them in the public roadmap, but they are coming. That is actually something that is really key in our minds from that. All right.
Thank you. First of all, this is a great presentation. Can you help me understand when a user sees that Copilot option on a SharePoint site based on their permissions on the site, whether or not they have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, whether or not we have billing enabled, whether or not they're is that bill? Like how does that?
Anybody with a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, they will see that code. They will see that coin, and if you don't have an 365 Copilot license, you won't see it. And the way that you will see it is if you set up that pay as you go year. So that means that you set something up for SharePoint agents. What we're doing is just checking that you could actually use the things that we put in that sidecar before we show you a coin. So that's a bit of the premise that's happening there. So that's how you could think about it. When I talked about the restricted content discovery, that's the one that says, it doesn't matter when your license is, nobody can see this. That's how you turn that off from that perspective. So it's always going to do that license check first. If you have a license, you can see it, and if you don't, check to see if there's a meter, and if you have time on the meter. What you could be seeing right now is that we are running a promotion on SharePoint agents. And it is an opt-out promotion, so it is on there. So we do check that to see if you've got that turned on. If it is turned on, then you will also see that. If that's maybe an extension question.
If you have a agent grounded on a hub site, does as its projection to the hub site, or is it also to all of the spokes of the hub?
Yeah, so that's actually, it is, the intended behavior is that it should go across all the sites that are in the hub site. I know that we have not had great response quality because of that, because it tends to be really big. So we are actually working on improving that, but that is the intent of that person.
Yeah, one question, if you created a SharePoint agent, then you have you see the option to continue in Copilot Studio.
Yes.
What would that?
Yes, so that's a really, really good question. So that is actually available right now. We have a private preview program running, and that's where we're working through how best to do that. I don't have a date. I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of things that we are working with the Copilot Studio to make that a smoother transition. One, I think right off the bat is just like when you get over there, or how we get over there, like what environment we put that in. Those are things that we're working with the team to make sure that we do that right. Part of the reason we held it back, that we're still working on it, is because of that exact thing. We put it into, we had initially started, we said, hey, we'll just put it in the default environment. Turns out, as you guys are well aware, you guys like to actually, lots of people turn that off. Within Microsoft, we turn it off as well. There's a personal environment there, and how does that work in a SharePoint world? So we are working on it. I don't have a date, but it is things that we are working through, and we'll likely come back to the community and our customers to get feedback on it as we read through it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the great presentation. Quickly, I understand if you've got Copilot assets, agents
Included, so for that. And if you have
is a Copilot agent ordered the SharePoint user implemented the SharePoint site, and does it have access to all the documents that's referenced in that site?
Yes. So as a coupon, it's yes. So when you create a site, you'll automatically get an agent, and it's grounded on the document libraries and the pages libraries. I named these two specifically because we don't support lists yet, and I know that we want to. I know that it's like pent up. I wanted to, I promise, but yeah, we're still working on that. There's always a thing around, in the same way that you guys, when you create your agents, you want to test that it's doing the right thing, it's giving good responses. We're doing that same thing now to make sure that lists give the right response. So it is just pages library and document library. And speaking of response quality, it is something that we've heard a lot of feedback that we could get better at. My team is working like super hard to just make it previous every day. When it comes to pages marble, one thing that we're looking down right now is that you look at the text of the page, that's not enough. We want to be doing, what is the structure, what are the web parts, and understand that. So we are working on making that a much better experience.
So I think you anticipated the questions I was going to ask all the list. But so I'm hearing you're saying that will be what agents browsed it, but I'm curious, for a document library, we have custom metadata added.
Yeah.
Can it?
That is actually something in progress as well. So we are working on adding the metadata columns in addition to that. Yeah. So it doesn't have it right now. It will. It's coming.
I have a scenario having thousands of SharePoint websites and a lot of users having an M365 Copilot license. So all the businesses started creating the agent and they publishing it. How we can governance it? So pay as you go is at the tenant level.
It is. Yeah, so I mean, right now it's just one. Okay, so there's a couple of things. So with SharePoint agents, it's different from Copilot Studio, where there's no like publish button. It's basically a creation and it's ready to go. Because it's saved in the document library or where you started that agent, it might not be discoverable right away. So we have that easy sharing mechanism, and then we let you do that. You can promote them to be approved for the site. So there's not a verb publish like you guys are probably familiar with Copilot Studio. From a billing perspective, from that pay-as-you-go here, so right now it is one per tenant. We realize that is a limitation, and it's likely setting it up, which is why I share with you some of the things that are coming. So we are adding to pub meta billing, and will be limits that you can do for that, so you can control the cost battle ones here.
And one other question is there any way I can control the create agent option for certain users?
For end users, that is going to be the same users that can create content on the site but have permissions to create it. So It's about managing, the difference between the content creators or the teams that have create options versus the people that are just consuming, which a lot of times are just read permissions. So the people with read permissions will be able to create an offsite. So we are using SharePoint permissions for that.
Do we have visibility to see what questions users are asking the agents?
That's a great question. Not right now. So we are actually figuring out ways to better give more visibility to that, but it's not something that we have a nice interface for right now. I mean, what you can do is, you can actually, let's take that back. In the same way that you can go through with Microsoft Copilot, where you can see anything that's coming through there, we're actually in that same, deep. So I think there is a way.
Is the feedback, function specific to the agent performance, or is it more for the experience?
It's for the response itself. So that's our one customer base experience. That is a signal that comes for that interaction that you're having. So it's less about the user, like the UX of it, but more about like what's happening. Did you like the response? So it's really about that did you like your response? And that's what you'll end up seeing if you have that turned on in your admin center. You can see those saying thumbs up, thumbs down. And I will put a plug, like we actually do appreciate and use that information coming in. So if you are encountering a situation where it's just bad, please let us know. And if it happens to get better, let us know that as well, because the positive signal helps us understand that if we're actually our improvements, like I said, we're doing a lot of response quality improvements that goes on to improvement.
Part of data retrieve, obviously, it can retrieve content across the native 365 apps like Word, Excel, but the PDFs here.
Yeah, so PDFs are included in that. We are improving the UI now for scanned PDFs. With scanned PDFs coming these images, we're running OCR on that to make sure we got text. So right now we're very good at the text-heavy situations, and we're definitely improving the cases where PDFs will be to map the text.
So like text.txt,
Yes, yeah.
like even like Google.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then also like licensing question. What about the message path?
Oh, the capacity packs. So right now we don't draw down from that, though we are actually working on making sure that we are, because underlying it's the same year for us.
Thanks, Benji, for this presentation, Marine. The follow-up question to his, does it scan, or does agent process images?
It does not. Like individual images, it's not doing that. What we're doing is trying to make sure that the image within the documents are being organized or add some text.
But at some point, is there custom metadata on?
Yes, yeah. And and you guys, if you attended any of the OneDrive scenarios, they showed like question and answer upon images as well. And so then, because our teams are so short through time, we are working on making sure that you can do the same things.
The question that I've been waiting to ask was, so I create the agent on site. I know the documents are on your site. I make it authoritative. You were accrued, all the rest of that. How do I keep it from hallucinating? If somebody comes in and asks a question that isn't something the agent is supposed to do. Because in my testing, I've gotten in that poor qualities.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
So actually, I've been noticing as well that can happen. A lot of times you can put instructions for it to not do that. So one sentence that I see work is things like decline the answer if you don't find it here, like decline to answer. So you're almost like instructing this thing like it's like a child in some ways. It's like you could do this and you could do this, and you put down the guardrails, and that really does help with you can't control it. It's inherently undeterministic, but that does help guide it in more.
Related to the privacy and compliance standpoint, so is the SharePoint agent's chats being stored anywhere?
Sorry, do you see this here?
The agent's chat history being stored anywhere?
Yeah, so it's in the same place where where Microsoft Copilot is stored, because our stuff is actually built on top of that. So all of that auditor was coming from that ends up in the same place. I think it's like a big dump, so it's not like great to go and parse, but it's all there. Our interaction will end it.
Okay, in the database.
Yeah.
This is amazing conversation. I mean, we are here last day. It just want me. Oh, here it is. Take this to answer this question. Just so I'm clear, I know you need a Copilot license or paid to be able to create an agent, but do you need a Copilot license to consume an agent?
Actually, it's the other way around. We actually check that we can consume it before we show you the create one. So, I mean, it's weird to create something you can't use. So, the creation is dictated by the license check because the license check is about the usage. Then the usage is where you ask a question. So we're basically seeing, hey, do you have a meter set up so you can ask a question? Or do you have a licensing to ask a question? And if you don't have that licensing set up or the meter set up, you won't see any create buttons. You likely will run into an error when we try to open the file and try to ask a question. So we're dating the creation on the usage.
The license.
Yeah. So you effectively both need the license, but we make sure you can use it before we lightning it.
If somebody sent you a link, you don't have the license.
Oh, you should. Yeah.
If you get a link to an agent by accident and you're not licensed in that, that'll throw an error, even though you have the link to the actual in there.
So I can give you an agent. I could give anybody an agent, but if you don't have licensing, it'll come up and it'll tell you cannot use this agent. Yeah. And it can be approved. I know it's a kind of an onward situation right now where we're just like, hey, too bad.
And you're talking only about SharePoint agents because that's
so like the SharePoint agent.
So just to allay some confusion, if you're building a different kind of agent, say in Copilot Chat, and it's grounded on public automation of a website.
Yes, then you
don't get those.
Correct.
If it's grounded on something that's inside on SharePoint or somewhere in N360 Bag Universe, that's what you need. Yes.
So it's that tenant grounding that is like the core part that you need to remember. There is actually there's a Word document that shows that too. I can show.
Who can create SharePoint agents? In terms of license.
The simple answer is a licensed user.
So even pay as you go.
Or pay as you go. Yeah. There's a.
I know when they first came out,
yeah.
I was like, at first they told all of our organizations.
One can use these.
Oh, there will. Yeah. There was a time for. Was there a time for?
There is. There's still a promotion going on where you get 10,000 messages a month, and it rolls over a month. That runs until the end of June. And so if you haven't turned that off, then there will be unlicensed users and unmetered users that will see this experience.
So I created an agent for our status reports. All of us have Copilot license except for our director. So when I deployed that status agent to Teams, will she not be able to mention it and ask it questions and cues because she doesn't have a license?
Yes. Yeah. So in that group environment and this, the people who have the license or who have a license will be able to add mention. Everybody in the group will be able to see the answer, but only the people with the licenses can actually do that. It's a good question.
You mentioned the promotion. It started late January, Easter 2000 pre-press.
Yeah.
And that was turned on by default. Yeah, but a lot of the users have create agents, so use. Yes. What happens to that user street?
So those agents will remain there when they go and try to use it. They'll get a message that basically says they now need a license. So we have a bit of a way to tell you that we can't use it because it's a file. They could delete it. Like they could decide if they want to clean it up. They could also give me a to the pocket area. This. There is actually a report. I didn't show it here, but there is a report that is available now. Unless you see the promotion activity, that's specifically so you can kind of see whether or not people were discovering it. I know that we put up a first run experience. Not everybody saw the first run experience. We were doing an edge checks to make sure that happened. That we tried to build some awareness on it, and then let you know that it was like a limited time offer. So we did some communications as we were introducing it.
They always got to say that to Copilot. I'm really looking forward to the web part. Can you?
Yes, the web part. I think it is. I agree.
It just up there. It says it's up there.
It does. There are. There's actually 3 different things we're looking at. One is actually putting the chat like as a web part, right? It's sort of like an embedded view. Try to figure out like what's the best way to do that. The second way that we're doing that is to just have like an entry point that lets you start typing your question, and then it'll open out the sidecar for that. And then the third method of it is just that it opens up the sidecar for it. So yeah, we are definitely working on that. I think it's on the it's a 3 months, I think. So yeah, it's something that
I saw it up there. My question is, what will it be? Thank you. You read my mind.
So we created satellite agents right now, and there's still a difference between all the kind of agents that you create, Copilot Studio, SharePoint agents, or Copilot Studio Builder agents. And what we noticed is that sometimes the SharePoint agents do not really work. You need to kick them off twice so that they continue to work, which are not happens in a Copilot Studio Builder agent. So we have different kind of experiences. The question, if I understood it right, if I restrict users to create agents in the admin setup, that won't restrict them to build SharePoint agents, right?
in the Power Platform, or sorry, the Power Platform side. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they're separate buildings. So our controls are within SharePoint, and the Copilot Studio has their own controls.
Okay, so
That's a disparity. It's good feedback. Yes, I definitely hear it. Yeah.
thanks.
I really appreciate your time. I know you have a lot of choices on the last day of the conference. I hope you enjoy the rest on the conference as well. Thank you so much.